your smart speaker.
Funny courses back at Dirty Blue. Get in
service
quick.
by our highly qualified mechanics. Ultra-tuned,
SAFM
over 270
News
locally owned centres, servicing Australia since 1979.
Hi, it's Damien Carvin with your national news briefing. The nation's booster program is starting to stall, and it's got our top health experts worried. Just 35% of Australians are boosted with a third dose, with states like WA and Northern Territory well under the 30% mark. Victoria's COVID commander, Jerome Weimar, understands that people are well and truly exhausted by COVID.
Do I think that people would rather be doing other things? I'm sure many of us would. But unfortunately, this is an important way to protect yourself and to protect those people around you.
Well, from Monday, the time between second and third doses drops from 4 months to 3 months. 97 people have passed away with COVID today, the bulk in New South Wales. There were 49 deaths. The Prime Minister is in Queensland this weekend, talking up the Coalition's record on climate change. He's announced $50 million over 4 years to go towards research and protection of Australia's koala population. Scott Morrison also defending his government's record on emissions reduction.
Australia's emissions have fallen by more than 20% since 2005. That's about 5 times more than in Canada. It's a great achievement by Australians, and a lot of that was done in our agricultural sector.
And another music legend has decided to remove their music from Spotify. The New York Times is reporting Joni Mitchell has dropped the streaming service in protest of podcasts on the platform promoting anti-vaxxers. Neil Young has already left Spotify. He suffered badly with polio as a child.
Open your ears to a new world of audio with Listener. Radio, podcast, music and news. All in your personalised daily feed. Download the Listener app now and listen for free.
Despite Ash Barty is out to become the first Aussie to win an Australian Open singles crown in 44 years when she faces Danielle Collins in tonight's final. Collins says she's up for the battle with Barty.
Yeah, I think she has really great variety. She mixes her spots well. She's able to hit all the different corners, mixing speeds, and really kind of making you guess a lot on where she's going.
Also tonight, the All-Aussie men's doubles final. And in AFLW action, the Adelaide Crows too good for Melbourne by 14 points.
Buying or selling rural or residential properties? You'll have one and done. This is SAFM weather. Partly cloudy, slight chance of a shower for the Limestone Coast. Temperatures falling to 14 degrees tonight. Tomorrow, partly cloudy at 29, and Monday, partly cloudy and 34 degrees. Our Listener app is the new home of your local news. Join up to listen live or on demand now. Funny courses back at Dirty Blue. Get in
by our
quick.
highly qualified mechanics. Ultra-tuned, over 270 locally owned centres, servicing Australia since 1979.
Hello, Emma Griffiths with your national news briefing. Ukraine's president says Russian troops will storm the capital tonight as locals on the ground prepare to actively defend. Troops have now reportedly moved onto the outskirts of Kiev, while Australia has imposed further sanctions against 8 Russian oligarchs and will look to target Vladimir Putin as well. Foreign Minister Maurice Payne says Putin needs to share the pain he's inflicting on Ukraine.
He will be personally responsible for the deaths and the suffering of innocent Ukrainians. He has lied, he has deceived, he has fabricated, and he has shown no interest in genuine dialogue.
While up to 300 people have gathered at Sydney's Martin Place to protest against Russia's invasion. Authorities say the flooding crisis hitting Queensland's southeast is the biggest weather event some regions have seen in decades. The CBD's Brisbane River is set to reach a new flood level record as falls continue into tomorrow. Police Minister Mark Ryan is urging the community to be safe.
The rain has not stopped. In fact, there are some parts where it is intensifying, and the impact of that on community could be significant. We already have water catchments which are saturated. which could of course lead to flash flooding.
To the COVID front, more than 22,000 cases have been recorded across the country today, and John Lanty is being remembered as one of Australia's greatest sportsmen following his death at the age of 91.
Open your ears to a new world of audio with Listener. Radio, podcast, music and news, all in your personalised daily feed. Download the Listener app now and listen for free.
To sport, Aussie Test captain Pat Cummins says he hasn't had talks with Cricket Australia about appointing a new head coach after Justin Langer's shock resignation. While preparations continue for the Aussie women's cricket side ahead of the ICC World Cup, Australia will face the West Indies tomorrow in a warm-up match. Bowling coach Ben Sawyer says they're getting back into the swing of things.
Yesterday we started back, right back into it with the quicks in particular, so everything's going really well for to start tomorrow.
Selling the family home. We'll want to job for you first.
A top of 29 degrees on the Limestone Coast today. It's partly cloudy with some light winds becoming even lighter in the late evening, and tomorrow top of 27. The Listener app is the new home of your local news. Join now to listen live or on demand.
Since then, a lot of things have changed, but one thing remained true. The great off-the-tune promise to offer a logbook service by a highly qualified mechanic. Off-the-tune, over 270 locally owned centres servicing Australia since 1979.
Hey there, I'm Amy Goggins. Voting will close shortly in the South Australian election, with locals out to determine if Stephen Marshall or Peter Malinauskas should lead the state. And with around 330,000 already making their decision via pre-poll voting and through the post, there's speculation we won't know the result tonight. A man wanted for crimes in 3 states has been flown from Queensland to New South Wales to face charges. The 44-year-old was allegedly on the run from police in New South Wales, Victoria and WA. Federal detectives helped by linking him to a vehicle near Gold Coast Airport, leading to his arrest. As the flood clean-up continues in Queensland, the state government has released details of a proposed $771 million relief package. Around $350 will go towards buying back up to 500 homes, or grants will be available to retrofit properties. And one of Australia's most iconic landmarks, the Sydney Harbour Bridge, is celebrating its 90th birthday. The city even throwing the bridge a birthday party with a stunning light show and a bunch of events over the weekend. Philip Bradfield, the grandson of Dr. John Bradfield, who designed the bridge, says he had a vision long before it became a reality.
He stood around about where I am standing right now with my grandmother and turned to my grandmother and said, I'm going to put a bridge over that.
With Money Me, you get low interest rates and approvals in minutes. Download the Money Me app today. Approved applicants only. T's and C's apply.
Well, first up, full time between Geelong and Essendon. The Cats walking away with a massive victory.
Siren will sound. No further score. Final scores here at the MCG. Geelong winning 20-18-138 to the Bombers 11-6-72. A 66-point win.
The call there on Triple M. Right now, a huge Sydney derby with the Swans doing battle with the Giants at North Stadium. Later tonight, it's then the Brisbane Lions up against the Lions.
Selling the family home. We'll want a job for you first. This is SAFM Weather.
Staying clear for the Limestone Coast, light winds, an overnight low of 12 degrees. Then tomorrow, partly cloudy, a top of 27, the same for Monday. And the Listener app is the new home of your local news. Join now to listen live or on demand.
1979. What a
On
year.
air,
Since then, a
online,
lot of things
and
have
on your
changed, but
smart
one thing to
speaker.
remain true. The great
Royal
Ultra-Tune
Copenhagen,
pumps go
open
for a
every day
logbook
for
service by
breakfast,
our highly
lunch and
qualified mechanics.
desserts.
Ultra-Tune,
SAFM
over 270
News
locally owned
Briefing.
centres servicing Australia since 1979.
Hello, David Dolan here with your news briefing. A fisherman has spent 6 hours in the waters of Townsville after his tinny capsized last night. He was rescued this morning by a fishing boat and treated for exposure. However, Acting Senior Sergeant Jason Cook says a second man remains missing.
Some stage during the night, the men have lost contact with one another, and the surviving gentleman was located at daybreak this morning.
The search for the missing 41-year-old will resume tomorrow. A Peak Pharmacy Group is giving a big thumbs up to the Coalition's election promise of cheaper medicines. Under the pledge, all medications on the PBS would be $10 cheaper from next year. Pharmacy Guild of Australia President Trent Toomey backing the move.
Essential medicines aren't something you can choose to go without 1 week or take half the prescribed dose. If your GP has written a prescription for it, it's because, by its very nature, it's essential.
While Labor is promising a royal commission into robo-debt, the program, which ran from 2015 to 2019, was an automated debt collection that unlawfully sought money from welfare recipients. We have a new Aussie Olympic chief. Chef de mission at the Tokyo Games, Ian Chesterman, has been elected to replace John Coates, who's stepping down after more than 3 decades in the role. And a once-in-a-thousand-year treat for stargazers early tomorrow morning. Saturn, Mars, Venus and Jupiter will all be visible from Earth, appearing to be in a straight line.
What would you do with $1? Did you know that for every $1 donated to Food Bank, 2 meals are created? Head to foodbank.org.au.
The Crows say Brodie Smith was up walking and communicating in the rooms following a sickening head knock in Adelaide's 59-point loss to the Giants. He was heavily concussed after taking a mark and had to be stretchered off the field. Josh Kelly was among the stars for GWS with 41 touches, speaking here on Fox Footy.
I feel like we complemented each other really well today. Being able to do that, share the footy around, and forwards are getting better looks off the back of it. So, across all lines, it was a really solid performance.
While Fremantle upset Geelong in a thriller 69 to 66.
Selling the family home. Melbourne and John put you first. This is SAFM weather.
Partly cloudy for the Limestone Coast, a bit windy, an overnight low of 11 degrees. Then tomorrow there's going to be some rain, heading towards a top of 20 degrees. And the Listener Wrap is the new home of your local news. Join now to listen live or on demand.
Online and on your smart speaker.
Royal Copenhagen, more than just ice cream. Open every day for food and coffee.
Over 270 locally owned centres servicing Australia since 1979.
Hi, it's Damien Carbon with your national news briefing. The cost of rapid antigen tests is back in the spotlight, with the Labor leader pedalling back on previous calls to make them free. In January, Anthony Albanese said no Aussie would have to pay for a rat if he won the election. He's now suggesting that may not be the case.
The times have changed, and what we do is consider the health advice at the time. At the time, there was an urgent need to get rats out to people.
Well, Labor's NDIS spokesman Bill Shorten is off the campaign trail for the next 7 days. He's tested positive to COVID. There were 2 policy promises from the Coalition today. The Prime Minister is in Perth to announce a $20 million fund for wineries, breweries and distilleries to upgrade their cellar doors. He's also committed to develop a national autism strategy. It all comes as pre-polling starts for us across the nation from Monday morning. A Melbourne woman has been charged with murder after the stabbing death of 2 men. Police found the pair at a home in Brunswick, later arresting a 44-year-old old after she was discharged from hospital. She'll face court in August on 2 counts of murder. Parts of Queensland are on high alert today as the heavy rain makes its way across the state. The Premier has asked people living in the north and west to prepare for severe weather with the risk of flooding. And the Queen has made the call to ban non-working royals from the traditional balcony appearance on her upcoming Platinum Jubilee celebrations. That includes Harry and Meghan and Prince Andrew.
What would you do with $1? Did you know that for every $1 donated to Food Bank, 2 meals are created? Head to foodbank.org.au.
Half-time at the MCG with Richmond in control. They lead Collingwood by 24 points, while Gold Coast have a 17-point lead over Sydney at the SCG. It's half-time in that match. There's 3 games still to come today. Next up, it's GWS hosting Geelong. Then tonight, the Hawks and the Bombers at Marvel Stadium, while heavy rain expected at the Gabba with Brisbane hosting West Coast. And in the NBL Grand Final Series, the Sydney Kings winning last night to take a 1-0 lead over Tasmania. Game 2 is tomorrow night in Hobart.
Buying or selling rural or residential properties? Villa One and Done. This is SAFM weather.
Mostly clear skies on the Limestone Coast this evening as we drop to 3 degrees overnight. Tomorrow, more showers and 15. A possible shower on Sunday too, 16 degrees. The Listener app is the new home of your local news. Join up to listen live or on demand now.
1979. What a year.
On air,
Since then, a lot of
online,
things have
and
changed,
on your
but one
smart
thing remains
speaker.
true. The great
Royal
Ultra Tune
Copenhagen,
Pumps,
open every day for breakfast, lunch and desserts.
Ultra Tune, over 270 locally owned centres servicing Australia since 1979.
Hi there, David Dolan here with your news briefing. AFL star Bailey Smith has confessed to using illicit drugs after photos and video emerged on social media from late last year. The Western Bulldogs young gun admits he's deeply ashamed, apologising for his behaviour, which he says spiralled out of control after the grand final loss to Melbourne. He's vowed to learn from his mistakes and do better. Smith's under investigation by the AFL's Integrity Unit and faces a potential ban of up to 4 weeks. Us taxpayers will be coughing up $830 million for essentially nothing. The federal government has agreed to pay that amount in compensation to a French shipbuilding company after Scott Morrison scrapped that $90 billion submarine deal. Anthony Albanese says the total cost of the failed contract is now almost $3.5 billion.
This is a saving from the $5.5 billion that Senate estimates was told would result from that program, but it still represents an extraordinary waste from a government that was always big on announcement but not good on delivery.
Wild winds are smashing Australia's southeast with gusts up to 130 k's an hour. Warnings are in place for parts of New South Wales, eastern Victoria and Tasmania, while alpine areas are bracing for blizzard-like conditions. And a paraglider is missing after crashing into the ocean off Wollongong this afternoon.
What would you do with $1? Did you know that for every $1 donated to Food Bank, 2 meals are created? Head to foodbank.org.au.
Brisbane will revert to form with their key tools for tonight's clash with St Kilda at the Gabba. Joe Danaher, Eric Hipwood and Dan McStay will share the forward line for the first time this year. An exciting prospect, according to coach Chris Fagan.
It's not like it's a new thing for us. We played that way for a big chunk of last year and did so pretty successfully, I might add, when those 3 boys were in the team together with Oscar. It's just going back to what we know.
And North coach David Noble has dumped Taron Thomas for tomorrow's clash against GWS.
Sell your home with Miller One and Done for a $2,000 fuel card.
SAFM weather.
Checking the Limestone Coast forecast, a shower or 2 this afternoon, 13 the forecast high, down to 8 this evening, more rain on the way tomorrow and a shower or 2 again on Monday. Our listener app is the new home of radio, podcasts, music and news. Join up to listen live or on demand.
and on your smart speaker.
Royal Copenhagen, more than just ice cream. Open every day for food and coffee.
Over 270 locally owned centres servicing Australia since 1979.
Hey there, I'm Lauren Howarth. Australia's east coast is being hit by heavy rain, sparking fresh flooding fears for communities still picking up the pieces from the last disaster. The wet weather stretches from northern Queensland down towards southern New South Wales, with places around Sydney of the main concern. Jonathan Howe from the Weather Bureau says things will really start to pick up soon.
We'll see a couple of those rain showers through the morning, but rain really picking up after lunchtime today and getting quite heavy into the evening. And for Sydney, you'll see the peak of the rainfall late tonight and into tomorrow, still expecting 100 to 200 millimetres.
A new start in our country's relationship with France, with the Prime Minister meeting Emmanuel Macron in Paris. Our relationship with the European country soured when the Morrison government scrapped a multi-billion-dollar submarine deal. Mr Macron says he doesn't want an apology from Anthony Albanese.
Well, we speak about the future, not the past. He's not responsible of what happened.
Leading epidemiologists are pushing for Aussies to be given access to a fourth COVID jab. The TGA is considering an application from Moderna for a new booster which specifically targets the latest Omicron strain. It comes as health officials in Queensland consider reintroducing the mask mandate. And what's been described as an extraordinarily rare portrait of Princess Diana has gone on display in London. The oil painting was completed 3 years before her tragic death in Paris. It was originally kept at Kensington Palace.
Join the community that helps make wishes come true. Visit makeawish.org.au to make your donation today. That's makeawish.org.au.
St Kilda has made its way back inside the top 8 with a 15-point victory over Carlton. Saints coach Brett Ratton says it's a big confidence boost.
Just really pleased for them to get back on the winners list, but play the way we want to play.
In this afternoon's early game, Essendon will host Sydney. And in cricket, Australia's claimed the first test against Sri Lanka with part-timer Travis Head taking 4 for 10.
It was nice to land in the right spot and let it do the work.
Now you're home with Miller, One and John for a $2,000 fuel card.
This is SAFM weather.
A grey Saturday across the Limestone Coast, the slight chance of showers, 12 the top, a low of 5 tonight, cloudy and 13 tomorrow, then a couple of showers and 15 on Monday. Our listener app is the new home of your local news. Join now to listen live or on demand.
Smart speaker.
Royal Copenhagen, open every day for breakfast, lunch and desserts.
Over 270 locally owned centres servicing Australia since 1979.
The tax cut promise being labelled unfair. Good morning, I'm Celeste Mitsu. More on that in a moment, but first a crackdown is underway on fraudsters who ripped off pandemic payments. $10 million worth of claims have been rejected. Checks have uncovered criminals are claiming the money meant for casual workers by using a false identity. Anthony Albanese is under pressure from economists to dump stage 3 of the tax cuts, arguing the country simply cannot afford it. New costings show it'll blow out to $243 billion by 2032, with meant to get over $160 million of that money. Labor first opposed the cuts heading into the election, but have since changed their tune. Too many vacant positions and not enough people to fill them. This issue will be the core focus of the federal government's Jobs Summit next week. Big business want to see a boost in the number of skilled migrants allowed to come into the country, somewhere around 200,000. Andrew McCullough from the Australian Chamber of Commerce says otherwise it is a grim outlook.
Well, this is the first time in our history that we've actually had more job vacancies than people who are unemployed.
Scott Morrison is facing a possible parliamentary probe over the power grab scandal. It comes as the Governor-General faces fresh questions over why his diary made no mention of the 5 times he granted the former PM extra powers. This is despite him detailing references to other swearing-in ceremonies.
And family budgets are feeling the squeeze, but people are still spending. Retail sales are up just under 18%, the biggest jump in clothing, electronics and fuel.
Beyond Blue is here to help you achieve your best possible mental health. For more information, advice and support, visit beyondblue.org.au today.
Richmond are off to September, booking a spot in the 8 with a 66-point victory over Essendon, while the Bombers will make a decision today on Ben Rutten's future, following their failed bid to secure Alistair Clarkson. Tiger Jack Revolt says it's been hard to watch.
You don't lose love for people just because they go to a new club and start wearing new colours. He's still a part of that 2017 Premiership, and obviously feeling for the moment because it's been a really tough week for him.
On Fox Footy there, and a record crowd of 90,000 is expected at the G today for the blockbuster between the Pies and Blues.
Sell your home with Miller One and John for a $2,000 fuel card. SAFM weather.
A look at the Limestone Coast forecast. A shower to be expected today, 15 at top, down to 3 tonight. Up to 20 mil of rain expected tomorrow, 13, and more showers on Tuesday. Our listener app is your new home of radio, podcast, music and news. Join up to listen live or on demand now.
And on your smart speaker.
Royal Copenhagen, open every day for breakfast, lunch and desserts.
SAFM over 270 locally owned centres servicing Australia since 1979.
Hello there, Damien Carbon with your national news briefing. Over 100,000 people have packed the MCG this afternoon to see Geelong win the AFL Premiership Cup. It's the biggest crowd since 1986. The Cats beating Sydney by 81 points. Premiership captain Joel Selwood here on 7.
And to our 72,000+ members, we can't thank you enough. And jump back on board. These boys are so special. Coming home, back where it belongs.
Tyson Stengel kicked 4 goals for the Cats, while Isaac Smith kicked 3 and was named the Norm Smith medalist for best player on the ground. He's now won an incredible 4 premierships.
Feeling a little bit of shock, to be honest. It was an unbelievable performance by the boys, and yeah, to have 4, it's silly, to be honest.
Earlier in the day, Robbie Williams was joined by Delta Goodrum with a tribute to John Farnham, singing You're the Voice, with many labelling it the best AFL Grand Final entertainment ever. To other news, there's tragic news this afternoon in central New South Wales with the body of a 5-year-old boy discovered in floodwaters near Tullamore. His family's car swept away around 8 p.m. last night. 4 people were rescued after being found clinging to trees. And there's reports the personal information of Optus customers is now up for sale on the dark web. Follows the major cyber attack on customers. Optus saying they're still contacting those affected.
What would you do with $1? Did you know that for every $1 donated to Food Bank, 2 meals are created? Head to foodbank.org.au.
In sport, as we mentioned, Geelong have won the AFL Grand Final at the MCG, beating Sydney by 81 points. Tyson Stengel bagging 4 goals, while Isaac Smith kicked 3 and won the Norm Smith medal. The win summed up by Joel Selwood.
To my teammates and the club, everyone involved in it, not just this year but the years that have gone by, I hope you're sitting back proud. They're a hell of a group.
That audio there on Channel 7. And a massive prelim tonight in the NRL with the Rabbitohs and Penrith.
Buying or selling, rural or residential properties, Miller One and John. This is SAFM weather.
A look at the Limestone Coast forecast. A partly cloudy but mostly fine afternoon ahead, 15 the top. Showers increasing tomorrow, 17, and more rain on the way for Monday, 15. The Listener app is your new home of radio, podcast, music and news. Join up to listen live or on demand now.
1979, what a year. Since then, a lot of things have changed, but one thing remained true. The great Ultra-Tune promise to offer a logbook service by our highly qualified mechanics. Ultra-Tune, over 270 locally owned centres servicing Australia since 1979.
Hello, Kate Smithers with your news briefing. 17 Australian family members of Islamic State fighters have touched down in Sydney as part of a repatriation operation. The 4 women and 13 children had been living at a refugee camp in northern Syria after they say they were forced or tricked into travelling into the country. Save the Children's CEO Matt Tinkler told the ABC more children are to be repatriated in the coming months.
We cannot guarantee their safety unless they're here in Australia. So it's a fantastic day and we should celebrate it, but we also need to make sure we remain firmly fixed on the need for those children to be brought to safety too.
Surging inflation and rising interest rates are tipped to see average wage earners around $5,000 a year worse off. As for mortgage holders, up to $13,000 more out of pocket each year. An Australian-born osteopath has been jailed for 34 years in the UK for murdering her friend. Gemma Mitchell hatched a plan to kill Mi Kong Chong in an evil attempt to inherit her estate. Mitchell became the first woman to be sentenced on television after rule changes saw news cameras allowed in the courtroom.
It appears that you are in complete denial as to what you did, notwithstanding what, in my judgment, amounted to overwhelming evidence against you.
And royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams says Prince Harry's highly anticipated tell-all titled Spare will cause catastrophic consequences.
Join the community that helps make wishes come true. Visit makeawish.org.au to make your donation today. That's makeawish.org.au.
In sport, and Manzoice has won the Victorian Derby at Flemington Racecourse. The 2,500-metre trip saw Manzoice really push through in the last 100 metres. Jockey Michael D spoke to Channel 10 moments after the race.
We're getting sort of pushed around by horses inside and out, and we're just able to edge to the outside, and he really let down strong once we got into the clear.
In the WBBL, the Melbourne Stars beat the Renegades by 6 wickets.
Buying or selling This is SAFM weather.
A chance of showers, temperatures falling to 5 degrees across the Limestone Coast tonight. Tomorrow, showers, a possible storm 19. And Monday, those showers continue, highs of just 13 degrees. The Listener app is the new home of your local news. Join to listen live or on demand now.
What a year. Since then, a lot of things have changed, but one thing remains true. The great Ultra-Tune promise to offer a logbook service by our highly qualified mechanics. Ultra-Tune, over 270 locally owned centres servicing Australia since 1979.
Hi there, it's Amanda Myler with the latest. Polls have closed in Victoria as Dan Andrews attempts to secure a third straight term as Premier. Opposition leader Matthew Guy needs 18 seats to secure a victory. Retiring former Victorian Police Minister Lisa Neville is confident of holding majority.
I think it will be tight, and I don't think there will be a statewide swing that's even. I think seat by seat will be very different.
Neville there on Sky. A $1 million reward has led to the arrest of a man in the alleged murder of Toya Cordingley, an Australian woman killed on a beach north of Cairns 4 years ago. Rajwinder Singh has been arrested in India. Singh, who was a nurse in Innisfail, boarded a plane for India days after Cordingley was killed. Police are investigating the cause of a unit fire in Melbourne's west this morning in which 2 people died, while another's in a serious but stable condition. Gold Coast police are using metal detection wands in a battle against knife crime during the schoolies period. Since November 18, officers have used the wands on more than 900 people, arresting 32 on 42 charges, including a 13-year-old. And new claims Queen Elizabeth was suffering a rare form of bone marrow cancer in the last few months of her life. a close friend of Prince Philip, has made the claim in an upcoming biography of the Queen, saying it would explain the tiredness, weight loss and mobility issues.
What would you do with $1? Did you know that for every $1 donated to Food Bank, 2 meals are created? Head to foodbank.org.au.
An injury change for the Socceroos ahead of tonight's must-win World Cup match against Tunisia. Fran Karasic is in for Nathaniel Atkinson. And in tennis, Australia's Davis Cup team has beaten Croatia 2-1 to progress to the final tomorrow night, where they'll face either Italy or Canada. Team skipper Leighton Hewitt, who played in the title-winning 2003 team, says he couldn't be prouder.
Obviously, we're a very proud Davis Cup nation, and, I'm just thrilled for these boys. They deserve to go out there and get the opportunity to play in a final of the Davis Cup, and now it's going to happen on Sunday.
Buying or selling rural or residential properties? This is SAFM weather.
Showers and late storms about for the Limestone Coast, a low of 11 degrees overnight. Tomorrow, a shower or two and a top of 17. And it's the daily stories that matter in under 20 minutes. Search the Briefing podcast on Listener. Download the app now and listen for free.
What a year.
On
Since
air,
then, a lot of things have
online,
changed,
and
but
on
one
your
thing
smart
remains true.
speaker.
The great Oxford
Royal
Promise to offer a logbook
Copenhagen,
service
more
by
than
a highly
just
qualified
ice cream. Open every day
mechanic.
for food and coffee.
Over 270 locally owned
News
centres
briefing.
servicing Australia since 1979.
Hi, I'm James Royce, the American soccer journalist who was jailed for wearing a rainbow T-shirt at the World Cup in Qatar has died. Grant Wall collapsed during this morning's quarter-final between the Netherlands and Argentina. However, his brother Eric claims that foul play was involved.
My brother was healthy. He told me he received death threats. I do not believe my brother just died. I believe he was killed.
Medibank's retail stores and call centre will remain closed until Monday, despite the private health giant completing an IT security upgrade following a recent cyber attack. Customers can, however, access their online accounts after those upgrades wrapped up early. Energy Minister Chris Bowen admits the government's plan to bring relief from soaring power bills won't be a silver bullet. He says consumers will be on average $230 better off with the change. One of the measures includes $1.5 billion in rebates to customers. Foreign Minister Penny Wong has unveiled a round of sanctions aimed at key Russian and Iranian figures, including Iran's so-called morality police. It follows months of protests in Iraq sparked by the death of a woman who allegedly breached the country's hijab dress code for women. Authorities in New South Wales are investigating how some preliminary HSC results were published only briefly online this morning. They're not due to be released until Thursday. And the Wiggles will front an electrical safety campaign for Queensland kids at a cost of $450,000. Involves a new song called Electricity, as well as free tickets to Wiggles concerts.
Join the community that helps make wishes come true. Visit makeawish.org.au to make your donation today. That's makeawish.org.au.
It's taken a while, but Australia has finally bowled the Windies out for 214 after a frustrating final wicket partnership. The visitors put on 43 for that last wicket before Mitchell Starc had Roston Chase caught swinging.
Pulled in the air, got some distance on it, but not enough. Caught, great catch by White.
So the Windies trail Australia's first innings by 297. And we'll know tomorrow morning who'll meet Croatia and Argentina in the semi-finals of the World Cup. First up, it'll be Morocco taking on Portugal before England drop into the playoffs.
Buying or selling rural or residential properties? You'll have one time. This is SAFM weather.
Partly cloudy skies continuing for the Limestone Coast, a top of 27 before a low of 14 tonight. It's the daily stories that matter in under 20 minutes. Just search for the Briefing podcast on Listener, download the app now and listen for free.